Hey, my name's Pexels, so I want to know more details about Madoka today. Well, it would have been great if you just watched it, but I respect your decision. So for today, we'll cover the important characters and themes of the show with all the spoilers. I'll be explaining the characters in the order of Mami, Sayaka, Kyubei, Kyoko, Homura, and Madoka, which I think is the order the story put focus on. And finally, at the end, I'll go over the themes and why the show is satisfying for me. Alright, sounds good to me. Alrighty then, but before we start, let me explain about witches in this show because they're very important. Witches are supernatural beings that spread curses and manipulate people into committing murder or suicide. The magical girl's duty is to defeat these witches. I'll be talking more about them later, so keep them in mind. If they're so important, why didn't you mention them last time? That's because I didn't want you to think that Madoka is simply about the battle against witches. The primary focus of the show is the struggle that Madoka and the other girls go through outside of the battle. Anyways, let's finally talk about the characters, starting with Tomoe Mami. I don't think Mami's name applies much to her as a character, but let me briefly talk about it. First of all, her last name Tomoe is a traditional Japanese symbol that looks like a comma. It's a really fascinating symbol, so read it up on Wikipedia if you're interested. As for the first name Mami, it's written in katakana, which is purely phonetic. As a kanji, there's a lot of ways to write it, and I couldn't figure out why she was given this name. Maybe because Mami was designed to be like a typical magical girl, it might be possible that she got her name from the classic magical girl anime Creamy Mami. But I have no proof, I'm just spouting possibilities. Last time, didn't you say that the creators of Madoka might have wanted people to know that this is going to be an atypical magical girl anime? Why would there be a character that's the opposite of what they're going for? Well, no matter how unorthodox Madoka is, it's still a magical girl anime, and Mami represents the hopes and dreams that are often associated with the genre. Madoka and Sayaka were both saved by Mami when they got lost in a witch's labyrinth in the first episode. Madoka initially fantasized about becoming a magical girl because she admired Mami, who is kind, beautiful, and strong. Unfortunately, at the end of episode 3, Mami is brutally murdered by a witch. Oh boy, so this is when the anime shows its true colors, huh? Yep, I remember the internet went crazy when this happened. In Japan, this moment was so shocking that a new nestling, Mamiru, was born. Well, that's interesting, but what does it mean? Mamiru, or to mami, means to die horribly, especially by having the head bitten off. Okay, I'm pretty sure I get how she was killed. Well, now that a person who Madoka admired died, wouldn't that make her not want to become a magical girl? I mean, I don't get why she would like to become one now. Oh yeah, totally. That's when the story moves on to Madoka's friend, Miki Sayaka. Sayaka was first introduced as a comical and energetic person, but she unfortunately spirals down a tragic path to despair. Sayaka's my favorite character from the show, and I think she's one of the main reasons why Madoka became such a good anime. By the way, Sayaka's first name is written in hiragana, which is purely phonetic, and there are multiple ways to write the name in kanji. However, there is an uncommon word, Sayaka, which does describe her well. Anyways, there's one thing that I haven't mentioned to you yet, which is that when you sign a contract with Kyubei and become a magical girl, you get to grant one wish. Huh, like any wish? Well, that's how Kyubei advertises it, but there's implications that there's a limit on how impactful the wish can be. But wishes like becoming a billionaire or resurrecting the dead is easily possible. Okay, well, so why doesn't Madoka resurrect Mami? Well, put yourself in Madoka's shoes and ask yourself this. Are you willing to fight against horrifying witches for the rest of your life in order to resurrect someone that you love, especially after you have seen someone who is strong and experienced die in front of you? Geez, that's a hard one. I mean, I would like to answer yes, but wait a second, hold up. Can't I just quit being a magical girl after I grant my wish? I mean, there's nothing that forces me to fight, right? Ah, well, good that you noticed. Well, get to that soon enough. But for now, let's go back to Sayaka. Sayaka uses her wish to heal her love interest's injured arm so that he could play the violin again. Sayaka was definitely happy with her decision initially. She was further persuaded that she made the right choice after saving Madoka and one other friend from a witch. However, Sayaka realized later on that she paid too high of a price than she ever expected from becoming a magical girl. She eventually neglected her pain to cope with the harsh reality, which led her to neglect her well-being, which ultimately led her to lose sight of hope and fall into despair. I'm not going to describe what happened during this process because there are a lot of events that went on and it'll take too long to explain it. Okay, well, what happened to Sayaka after she fell into despair? Well, this is one of the most important revelations in the series. Basically, Sayaka turned into a witch. Well, why did that happen? Well, this is where I should explain about Kyubey. Kyubey is part of an alien species that learned a long time ago that on planet Earth, when girls fall from hope to despair, gigantic amount of energy is born. Kyubey collects and uses this energy to keep the universe alive. Without it, at least in Madoka's world, the universe will eventually meet its doom. Kyubey's name is actually derived from its name of the species, the incubators, and the job of the incubators is to incubate the eggs of witches, the magical girls. Oh boy, that's a lot to process. So Kyubey's alien race made this messed up system in order to sustain the life of the universe. I still feel a bit weird that out of any form of energy out there, they found a girl's misery to be the most cost effective. Is there any explanation for that? Nope, that's exactly what I meant last time about how Madoka's world is designed to make the characters suffer. There's no logical explanation as to why a girl's misery is the best source of energy, aside from the creator simply wanting a messed up world like that. Usually, I'm not a fan of shows like this, but Madoka is an exception because there are so many positive things that outweigh the negative. Also, let's go back to your question of what if the magical girl stops fighting? Aside from falling into despair, magical girls could also turn into a witch by using up all of their magic, and magic is consumed just by being alive. The only way to replenish magic is by defeating witches. So you're saying that even if every witch has been defeated and the magical girl lives a happy life, she will eventually turn into a witch because there's no way to recover magic? Now that's just messed up. Yep, back when Madoka was super popular, everyone just hated on Kyubey. Kyubey really stood out as a villain because he really doesn't think that he's doing anything bad. Rather, he believes that the magical girls should be proud that their sacrifice is keeping the universe alive. Well, justice for one side is evil for the other side, I guess. Well, going back to Sayaka, what happened to her after she turned into a witch? Well, before we go into that, let me talk about Sakura Kyoko. While Mami and Sayaka represent the heroic aspects of being a magical girl, Kyoko is the direct opposite. She believes that magical girls should fight for their own sake, and she even uses her powers to commit crimes such as stealing food. But as the story progressed, it's revealed that Kyoko is very similar to Sayaka because she also used her wish for the sake of others and met a tragic fate. Even though Sayaka and Kyoko hated each other initially, Kyoko became kinder as she witnessed Sayaka's deteriorating mental health. To some degree, I think Kyoko blamed herself for what happened to Sayaka because she treated her so badly when they first met. That's why at the end of the battle against Sayaka as a witch, Kyoko self-destructed and killed Sayaka along with herself. Gosh dang it, this show just keeps throwing sad moments one after another. Well, I'm noticing that Homura and Madoka have done nothing so far, even though last time you made it sound like the entire show's about them. Madoka has been a witness of all of these events thus far, and she functions as a window for the audience to experience the story as a normal person. Because Madoka isn't a magical girl, she feels helpless to remedy the situation, which makes the audience feel the story to be so intense and frightening. So yeah, Madoka hasn't done much yet, but she's definitely important to depict the relentless, harsh world of the show. Let's talk about Homura then. Homura has been appearing throughout the show and she seems to be scheming something, but her intention has been kept a secret. Even Kyubey, who knows everything about every magical girl, doesn't know much about Homura. After the death of Sayaka and Kyoko, it's finally revealed that Homura is a time traveler who has been trying to save Madoka because originally they were really good friends. It's not clear how many repeats she had, but she's seen Madoka and the other girls die many times. Some people view her as the real main character of the show, and even the lyrics for the opening theme song is actually more about her than Madoka. Well, that's interesting, but how is Homura able to go back in time? Is that what she wished for? Yeah, Homura wished to redo the first encounter with Madoka. Because the type of magic you gain as a magical girl is dependent on the wish that you make, Homura also gained the power to control time. That sounds like a really strong ability. In other shows, abilities based on time manipulation is really strong, but Homura makes it really clear that time manipulation by itself is not that useful. She relies on real guns and bombs during the fight because she can't use her magic to attack. Oh, that's pretty cool, but what is Homura trying to protect Madoka from? If she's trying to prevent Madoka from turning into a magical girl, then hasn't she already succeeded? Because there seems to be no incentive for her to become one after all of these horrifying incidents. That's the ultimate goal, but there's one major hurdle that Homura keeps struggling to overcome, which is the attack of the world's strongest witch, the Walpurgis Knot. Whopper? That's Burger King. Water in the fire? That's Corona. Okay, well I give up. Yeah, that's fine. It's German apparently, and I'm pretty sure I'm butchering the pronunciation. Anyways, Walpurgis Nacht is so powerful that it's pretty much a natural disaster, and any city that passes through is left in ruin. Homura has fought it many times, but she was never able to defeat it. When I explained to you about the dream that Madoka had last time, the giant monster that Homura was fighting against is the Walpurgis Nacht. Well, so far, I don't see why Homura needs to defeat the witch. If she's trying to prevent Madoka from dying, then can't she just take Madoka and run away or something? Yeah, I have wondered about that, and I honestly don't have any explanation regarding it. It's one of those things that you just have to accept that there's an unsaid reason why they have to defeat it, which may be problematic for some viewers. No matter what the reason is, Homura ends up fighting against Walpurgis Nacht alone. And let me tell ya, I love this fight scene. It has everything great about this anime. If you're still not sure whether to watch the show or not, at least give this fight a shot. I see. And let me guess, Homura is killed by the witch? Ah, close but no cigar. She does lose and almost turns into a witch. And that's when Madoka steps in. I mean, what can Madoka do? Is she gonna make a wish and solve everything? Not quite. So now let's finally talk about Madoka. She is a very kind-hearted person but lacks self-confidence. She's been witnessing everything that's been going on so far and has been wanting to help out in any way, shape, or form. Now there's one last revelation, and it's that Madoka has the potential to be the world's strongest magical girl to the point where she could rewrite the entire universe. Oh boy, well, I don't know if I'm a fan of that. The show better have some kind of explanation. They do, but it's very complicated. Every time Homura repeated history, she dragged the fate of all of the parallel universes with her, and the karmic destiny of all of those universes connected with Madoka because she's the reason why Homura became a magical girl. I mentioned earlier that there's a limit to how impactful a wish can be. For Madoka, because she's connected with the fate of several universes, the impact of her wish is astronomically huge. Well, I kinda get it, I guess? Honestly, it sounds like a giant plot armor. Well, I'm pretty sure I'm doing a horrible job explaining it, but I think it'll make sense if you actually watched it. Anyways, Madoka ended up rewriting the universe by becoming a god and ceased to exist as a human being. The only person that remembers her at the end is Homura. Magical girls still exist and they still have to fight against monsters, but the whole thing about turning into witches disappeared. Wait a minute, so she didn't really solve everything even though she sacrificed her entire existence? Yeah, it's not a complete happy ending. Homura accepted what happened, but she wasn't really happy about it. Well, maybe because you stepped over the explanation, I'm still iffy on the final tidbit. Well, if you ask me, there's only two things to keep in mind for the ending. One, the miracle at the end happened because Homura kept trying to save Madoka over and over again. Second, the miracle at the end isn't the ideal solution, but the change that it brought is better than what it was before. For me, Madoka is a magical girl anime that illustrates something very basic but realistic. If you want something to change, you gotta keep trying. The power to persevere is a magic that can cause a miracle, but things might not change in a way that's expected. Your fight will continue even if change happens because most likely the change is less than ideal. I know I'm not doing a good enough job to explain my point, so let me sound smart by sharing a quote by political journalist Michael Gerson that I randomly found on Wikipedia regarding hypocrisy. Being a moral person is a struggle in which everyone repeatedly fails, becoming a hypocrite in each of those moments. A just and peaceful society depends on hypocrites who ultimately refuse to abandon the ideals they betray. This quote pretty much sums up what I wanted to say, but in a more well-written way. Okay, well I don't know about you sounding smart, but I get that Madoka illustrated the importance of perseverance. And I guess I just gotta watch the show if I want to get a better understanding of what happened at the end. Oh yeah, I totally recommend it. I actually binged the entire show recently on Crunchyroll, and it was as good as I remember. Oh, by the way, there's a 2-part movie that combined and edited the TV series with added scenes. The total amount of time it takes to watch the 2 movies isn't that different from the TV series, but I think it's a little bit faster paced. If you don't want the story to dwell on the sad moments, then maybe you could give the movie a try. There's also a 3rd movie, but that's a sequel and it has a mixed reception. I personally enjoyed it though. Okay, well I'll look into it. Well, today sure was a long one, but I think I get mostly what Madoka is about. I'll check it out whenever I have the time. Okay, Bias Pexel, I'll come again when I'm interested in another show. Take care. Yep, sounds good. See ya!